Morning, everybody. Welcome to another Electric Culture of Safety, Lineman Safety National Webinar. This will be 047 Structured Practice with my buddy, Mark Forster, CUSP, and Director of Operations with ISPC. So this is going to be great. The structured practice, when he told me that he was going to be bringing this, I was like, yes, it's going to be good. So I'm excited about this for you all. Just real quick, Electric Culture of Safety, we're getting close to 13,000 members, partners we call them, around the United States and Canada. And we do these monthly Lineman Safety National webinars twice a month now. And ISPC is a huge contributor bringing folks to speak here. And I'm going to have Mark give a little description about himself and ISPC real quick. But if you all want to contact me, we've got some hats with the ECOS logo on the side. We have the American flag, ECOS logo on the side. We've got black. We got the Bottomlands camo. This seems to be pretty popular. And we have our new Electric Culture of Safety hard hat stickers, round. And they're clear, so they can go on any hard hat color. And just email me at safetytraining@beermeters.com and tell me what hat you'd like and how many stickers. And I'll just mail them to you, ship to address. And so it's a real neat program, as you can tell right here. ECOS is a grassroots movement, collaboration between folks, the best safety trainers, safety directors, director of operations in the United States, consultants. And just for an example, ISPC bringing all their folks in. Jimmy Vaughn, he wrote a article, work methods for the OBGWs for Liberty Utilities. And they sent that to me and I read it, went through all the images, the diagrams, and the language that ISPC uses in their work that they provide, their services they provide for folks. And it's just beautiful. And we're coming together. It was about 3 weeks ago, I heard a saying that said that a millionaire is passionate about what they do, but a billionaire connects with those people and brings them together. And this is not about money at all. Mr. Mark is here. ISPC pays for him to come here. No money changes hands with ECOS at all, ever. And it's an amazing deal that we got going on here, coming together, connecting with one another, creating a line team. And Mark, I'd like to thank you for coming here from your place, hometown of Pennsylvania.
Yep.
And just give us some background of Mr. Mark.
Yeah. So thanks, Brent. Appreciate being here again. This is my second time supporting ECOS. Mm-hmm. Great, like you said, grassroots effort to get our line workers and our line teams the information and the support that they need to be successful. So, my background, after high school, went in the military. Mm-hmm. Got out of the military, went to a 2-year college program for electrical, and then obviously transitioned into the workforce. Been in the electric utility industry 25 plus years. The majority of that with PPL Electric in Pennsylvania. Started just as any apprentice in the my background is fully in the substation world. I have some line experience in underground and so on, but my main background is in the substation world. So went through that apprenticeship program, became a journeyman electrician, worked both in the distribution and transmission all the way up to 500 kV. 2012 transitioned to a supervisor role. So spent 10 years as a field supervisor, supervising the substation people that I worked for. And then in 2019 transitioned into the training world. Just had a passion for giving back and teaching others coming into our craft the right way to do things, right? There's a right way and then there's the other way.
Yeah.
So did training for about 2.5 years there, and then actually it was funny, I had Jimmy Vaughn, you mentioned Jim, so I reached out to Mac and Jim to do a third-party review of our grounding policy at PPL. And so that's how I got to meet the guys at ISPC. And then Mac threw the fishing line out and started to reel me into the ISPC world. And so then last year in November, I transitioned full-time to ISPC. Just really enjoy, again, the training side of it and the giving back and the sharing. And I think that's, you know, once you're in this industry, you know, 15, 20, 25 years and more, it's our obligation to give back to that industry that gave to us, right? And so sharing and supporting the next generation of line workers, we need people to do that. We got to carry on those, I shouldn't say traditions, but the way we do things and the reason why we do things and so on. So that's kind of my background to how I got where I'm at today. So,
well, tell us, Mark, a little bit about ISPC's services, what they provide for the industry.
Yeah, so ISPC, again, the Institute for Safety and Powerline Construction, and that's really our mission, is to support the safety and training of the power line industry. And so we do a bunch of different things. So we have our apprenticeship programs, distribution. We're in the process of developing a brand new substation technician curriculum, transmission, metering. And so we have those programs. We obviously do consulting work, both remote and on-site we can do. We do safety leadership training. We do craft training and advanced craft training, things, you know, live line bare hand, grounding, insulate, isolate. So pretty much anything across the spectrum of the line industry, ISPC can support. We have a small network of full-time people, but we have a very large network of what we call affiliated consultants that when we need a little niche here or there, we need a little extra help, we can call on those consultants to help us out. So, it's, you know, we can do, we also do auditing and safety observations and things like that. We can come on site and watch your people work and give feedback. We also do accident investigations. So if you're unfortunate enough in your company to have an accident, you can hire us to come on site and we'll do some investigating and try to see what happened and identify the causal factors of that, and, you know, hopefully prevent you to have that same thing in the future again. Right. So, that's what we, and if you, I'm sure I probably forgot some of the services, but, you know, you can go to our website, ispconline.com, and everything's spelled out there as well. You can check out our services and so on. So
very nice.
Yeah.
Well, so Mr. Mac Turner, he made a wise decision on getting that fish hook in the lip of Brother Mark here, and you'll see that as he makes his presentation and delivers it to you all. So appreciate you, brother.
Thanks, Brent. Well, good morning, everyone, and thanks again to Brent and Beer Meters for their support of our line industry. This doesn't happen without them supporting this and kind of driving this effort. I know Brent spent a lot of days and nights on the road for many years, driving his line trailer around and giving his presentations, and again, all at no cost. So, you know, kudos, Brent, to you and your family and your organization for doing that. It's definitely a big lift, but it's definitely needed. So today I want to talk about this thing called structured practice. So getting it right the first time. So very important that we teach our folks as they're coming into this industry the right way to do things the first time. So you can see a quote here from Vince Lombardi: "Practice does not make perfect, only perfect practice makes perfect." And, you know, more than likely we will never make perfect work all the time. But if we strive for perfect, we can absolutely land on excellence. And so if we strive for perfect and we do what we can to make sure we're teaching our people the right way, we can get to that excellence. And if we're at excellence, we're doing pretty good. So a couple of quotes here I have on the screen. I'm sure you have heard some of these in the past or through your career, right? Why did you do it that way? I wouldn't have done it like that. What were you thinking? Let me show you the right way. Well, the last statement there is what we need to get to, right? Let me show you the right way. We need to be teaching our people the right way the first time so that all these other statements go away. So very important, especially if you want somebody to do something the right way, and it needs to be done that way for a certain reason. We need to be telling our people that, right? We shouldn't be just sending them, hey, go do this task, and then, well, why'd you do it that way? Well, you didn't tell me you wanted me to do it a certain way, so how was I to know, right? So we need to be teaching our people the right way right from the start. Key part of our job as trainers, create perfect practice. We need to be, again, telling our people the right way to do things, okay? The alternative of this is the creation of bad habits. And once we have those bad habits established, it is a monumental effort to get people to stop doing work using bad habits. And those bad habits turn into shortcuts and incidents and accidents and so on. So this is what we're trying to prevent, with this effort of teaching people the right way right from the start, okay? Far cheaper to teach people the right way the first time than to try to correct bad habits, okay? So structured practice, you can see here on this little diagram kind of where it fits in the footprint of getting to the ultimate goal of competency, right? We want the ultimate goal in this whole practice, whether it's structured practice, guided practice, independent practice, right? OJT, on-the-job training. The end goal is competency. We want our people to be fully competent in the work they're doing day in and day out. So we're going to kind of go through the steps of this structured practice to see how we get there. So 3 types of practice. The first one you have is structured practice, right? Right out of the classroom, we use structured practice to teach people the right way to do the task we're trying to teach, okay? So this is where the teacher is doing the demonstrating and the student is doing the learning. The next step is guided practice. So here we flip-flop. Now the student is doing the work and the teacher or the instructor is just there overseeing it, right? And the key to this is, in both these cases with structured and guided practices, instant feedback. We can, if they make a mistake, we can stop right then and there, correct it, eliminate that bad habit from ever forming, and move forward. And then the last one is independent practice. And this is where now the student has learned the task, they understand it, they know what good looks like, they can practice on their own, they can practice through on-the-job training, so on, and just continue to hone that task or craft till we get to that competency point. So the 3 P's, presentation, right? So the first thing obviously is the presentation. We got to tell our folks what we're teaching them. We got to teach them the rules and the regulations and the procedures and things behind what we're going to ultimately be teaching the task of. Then we step to structured or guided practice. Okay, so again, this gives the students the opportunity to, 1, fail safely, right? We're in a training platform so they can make mistakes without repercussions or bad repercussions. And we can correct that. We can, if they make a mistake, we can stop, we can correct it and get them back on the right path. And then you go to production, right? The independent practice where the students have the opportunity to continue to build on that task they just learned and get to that point of competency. Is it possible to teach a task so effectively that the need for corrective feedback is nearly eliminated? Yes, the answer is yes, but we need to do a couple things to get there, right? Again, we need to tell our people how. There's a certain way we want things done, or there's the right way to do things. We need to tell them that. We need to show them how to do it, right? You can't just not everybody learns the same way. So just sitting in a classroom and presenting material, some people just don't get it. They need to get their hands on it, touch it, feel it, and do the work. So we need to tell them, we need to show them, then we need to put them to work and practice that right away. One of the keys with this structured practice is once we learn what we're about to do, we need to go do it. It takes away that anxiety of oh, I'm going to forget how to do things, right? So it's learning it and then putting people right to work. And then again, like I mentioned several times, provide the instant feedback, right? We need to, if they're doing things good, we need to provide that feedback that they're doing, hey, that really looks good. That's exactly what we're looking for. And on the flip side, if they make a mistake, we need to stop and correct it right away. So let's go through how this works, right? So again, by telling people and showing people how to perform the task and then putting them to work performing that task and providing that instant feedback is the way you need to learn the right way the first time. Again, as the student continues to learn, we continue to monitor that performance and make sure that they are doing it correctly. Sometimes people refer to this a lot like coaching, right? We're looking for understanding. They understand how to perform the task. And then we're going to the performance side of things and we're looking for that competency and performance of that task. So you can think of this a lot like coaching. If you played sports when you were growing up, repetition, 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 right? You run the same plays over and over again until you have them down to a science. This is no different. We're learning a play or a task or a job, and we're performing it over and over until we're competent in that task. Unless the student can do something when they leave class that they couldn't when they came to class, we probably wasted our time, right? And so if we're not just attending class and sitting in a training program does not mean competency, right? You need that performance side of things to understand that the individual got what they were supposed to get out of the training. And so if you don't have both sides of it, you can't determine that your people are competent in doing those tasks. The role of structured practice to build correct performance while avoiding bad habits, right? We want to do this slow. We want to take the time. If we spend the time here in structured practice, the rest comes easy. It should be a very smooth transition to competency if we take the time to teach people structured practice, observing them. Again, if errors are made, we stop. Now's the time to fix it. Oftentimes, the problem is slowing students down enough to get them to take the time to learn that task, right? And this is not easy, right? You need to have, you need to set the stage early in this process. This is the only point where you're going to have enough control over the group of students that you're instructing to do this. Once you turn them loose, and especially back into their work groups, you've lost that control. You can no longer monitor those students for doing things the right way, right? Then that's where the bad habits and so on start to creep in, okay? Again, this is not going to happen on its own. Some things you can do as an instructor or trainer to help aid in this effort. Keep your class sizes small, right? If you have to have a larger class, I think probably 6 to 8 is probably the good size for this structured practice phase. If you have to have more students in class than that, then divide the class up. You can use multiple instructors. You may have some students in your class that are a little more advanced than others. You can use those students to help you out as well. You have to monitor the students, right? We can't just turn them loose and let them practice. Again, if you're not watching them and they're creating bad habits, then this phase hasn't worked, right? And we're never going to get to where we need to be. Provide frequent positive reinforcement and feedback. Again, if they're doing things right, let them know they're doing things right. And if not, we need to give that feedback as well. Emphasize skill-based learning and emphasize structure. You have to set this structured practice up right from day one. Emphasize the structure and the way that you're going to give the class and stay with it, okay? you must control the narrative, right? If you're not in charge, if you're just letting the students do what they want to do, then you've lost this structured practice phase, okay? Extremely important to set the tone, okay? Consistency. We want to do this the same way every time, build that consistent process of what you're teaching to your students. So modeling, right? We've talked about it already, showing them how, telling them how, letting them perform the work, right? So anytime a new task or process is introduced to your people, you need to show them how the work should be done. You need to model it for them. You know, as teachers, okay, we should clearly articulate the steps involved using three-way communication, okay? Three-way communication is nothing new to the utility industry, right? We use it all the time. It's been preached, it's been talked about. So we need to clearly communicate. If you don't have that feedback from the students that they understand what you're communicating, you don't know whether they got it or not, okay? Walk the students through the steps using think out loud techniques. Talk, tell them what you're doing. Get that response back from the student that they understand, okay? As students, we need to repeat the steps back to the teacher. Yeah, okay, I understand what you're doing. Okay, very important three-way communication. Perform the skill or process without errors, right? We don't want to ramp up the speed of this until we can do the task right, complete, and be successful there. Then we can start to ramp up the speed of that process and work towards that competency end goal. Have the students perform one step of the skill or process at a time, right? So instead of saying, okay, build a splice, walk the students through every step of that process till you get to the full, complete product, okay? Have the students model the skill for their peers. Again, if you have that student or students that are a little more advanced than some of the others in the class, use them to help you in this process. They can be your second set of eyes and help the rest of the class walk through that process, okay? So how do we properly model a task? You know, obviously the easiest way is just demonstrate the skill step by step, right? So you do it yourself as the instructor. You can verbally explain each step. You can use a video. I mean, if you have maybe you have a manufacturer video, a little video clip, 4-minute video clip, you could show that video, right? We can show our students examples of whatever that task is you're teaching and show them what the step looks like and then the overall completed task, right? We can also point out common errors. I mean, if there's mistakes that you have seen over and over these students make, point those out. If people understand that that's not right and that doesn't look good, then let them know that, okay? Connecting structured and guided practice. So structured practice, we've already said, this is the teacher doing the work with input from the students. And you don't have to just outright show the task. You can ask the students, okay, what's the next step? What's the next step? And that helps learn as well. In guided practice, we flip-flop it again, right? Now the student's doing the work with input through feedback from the teacher, okay? Again, if you have students that are more advanced, use them in this process to help you. They can help with those students that need a little more help in learning. If we pay our dues at the structured practice phase, everything else becomes easy, okay? When we move on to that guided practice phase and ultimately into that independent phase or on-the-job training phase, we should have taken our time, built that process in the students, and they should understand what good looks like and be moving towards that competency phase. You know, developing correct patterns, that's the whole process with this, right? We want to develop the correct way to do things, the right way the first time, so that we are not allowing our people to create bad habits. Again, then it should be reasonable that once we go to guided practice and down the road, they should need very little help. We should just be monitoring what good practices we have already taught them in the structured practice phase. So now that we've laid the groundwork for successful and productive guided practice, we produce that environment of independent learning, right? So now the students can take what they learn and they can put it to practice rather than standing there, hey, I don't understand this. What do I do next? What's the next step? That's what we're trying to eliminate, is teaching people the right way so that the rest of it is all practice, building on those good habits. And then we as instructors can just monitor the class, monitor the students, and make sure that they are continuing to build on that perfect practice. All right? So the outcome, right? The student benefits. You see here with the anxiety of cognitive overload, forgotten, right? Forgetting tasks. How often have you been in a class where you try to remember step after step after step? And then once you get to the point of demonstrating, you forget, right? So this whole structured practice phase is doing it step by step by step so that the student doesn't feel overloaded with the whole process, okay? The benefits to you as the teacher, the instructor, is you no longer have to spend hours in front of the class, right? You provide the structure and the constant monitoring and feedback, and then the students understand what they're doing, right? So you're just monitoring that they're continuing to build on that process. You know, no longer the student's job to work the teacher to death. It's the teacher's job to work the student to death, right? We want to just be having them out there working and working and working, and we're just monitoring that progress. That's where we want to be. I mentioned in the beginning, the goal of this is competency, right? So how do we get there? How do we get to competency? So a couple definitions here: the ability to do something successfully and efficiently, okay? The quality of being adequately or well qualified physically and intellectually. And the last one is the knowledge, skills, and ability and behaviors that contribute to individual and organizational performance. I think everybody can agree that if you look at these three definitions, if we can get our people to do things successfully and efficiently, if we can get our people to be well qualified both physically and mentally or intellectually, and we have our people at a point where their knowledge, their skills, and their abilities, right, contribute to individual and organizational performance, there's not a whole lot more we can ask for, right? This is where we want to be. This is what we want our folks to do day in and day out. One of the things with competency is we got to have some job knowledge, job requirements, often referred to as job description. There has to be a benchmark there of what we're asking our people to do, right? So a collection of competencies that define successful job performance. You can't tell somebody or say to somebody, yes, you're competent in this task, if you don't know what the steps are to get to competency. So we have to define that. So here's just a little matrix, kind of sums up the journey to competency, right? So up in the upper left-hand corner there in the purple block, unconscious and incompetence. So this is where you don't even know what the skill is, and you obviously lack the proficiency to do that skill, right? So this would be your entry-level individual that has never done this task before. You then step down to the yellow block in the lower left-hand corner where you're conscious, but you're still incompetent. So now you have had the presentation phase of this, right, where the teacher has taught you what you're about to do, but you're still not proficient in doing that task, right? You haven't done anything. We then hop over to the green block where now you're conscious and you're competent, right? So you know what the skill is, you're able to do it, but it takes a little bit of effort. You have to think about it. You have to practice, right? So that's that moving from the classroom to the structured practice and to the guided practice. And then in the upper right-hand corner in the blue block, unconscious and competent, right? So you're performing the skill becomes automatic. This competency needs to follow through your career, because what tends to happen when you get to that upper right-hand corner where you're doing things unconsciously, but you're competent, that's when we tend to get in that autopilot phase, right? And we start to develop bad habits because we recognize now, because we're so good at doing a task, we recognize how to take shortcuts and how to do things to get faster or get more efficient, right? So this competency performance measures need to happen not only in the training phase or the initial training phase, but they need to happen throughout your career. We need to check periodically throughout your evolution through your career that you are still doing things the right way. We want to eliminate people developing bad habits and taking shortcuts, and then ultimately, normally, that leads to incidents, right? And that's where we don't want to go. So evaluation placement testing, EPT, okay? This helps us understand where our employees are, right? Both our new hires and our existing folks. It'll help place our people in that matrix I just showed you, and you will understand the knowledge gaps that your people have and what you need to work on to get them to this competency stage, right? Needs to contain both a written exam and required field competencies, right? You'll have people that are really good at taking tests and they can pass a test, but that doesn't mean they're competent, right? We still got to have that, what we call field side of things or hands-on activity, so that they understand not only the knowledge portion of it, but the physical hands-on portion of it. Training and personal evaluation are not the same as EPT. So just because somebody showed up at your class, sat in your couple-hour presentation, maybe passed an exam or maybe not, the sign-up sheet saying that they were there does not mean they're competent, right? We need this evaluation placement, and we need the exam and the competencies to determine that our people are competent in what we're teaching, okay? Obviously, training's important, but it doesn't ensure competency, okay? The training is used to develop the knowledge and the skills and the behaviors, okay? That's what we're trying to do through this whole structured practice and guided practice, is to develop our students or our trainees' knowledge, right? Get their skills to a level where we need them to be. And also behavior is an important part, right? We need to make sure that we're there and we have the right behaviors and the right attitude, okay? Documentation of training does not satisfy the requirement for documented competency, okay? Again, just because I showed up to the class doesn't mean I'm now competent, okay? You have to have that feedback piece, that evaluation, that competency to determine that that person's competent. And you have to have the steps there that define that competency. We can't say, just because I watch somebody build a splice, or I watch somebody climb a pole, or I watch somebody do whatever the task may be, doesn't mean they're competent, because now you take my judgment into the equation, right? We have to lay out and define those competency steps and what it's going to take to become competent. Competency is the application of knowledge, skills, and behaviors for performance, okay? Again, we have to have all of these in order to get to this competency point. The difference between training and competency is that training happens before someone begins testing, and competency confirms that they're doing that task or job correctly, okay? So they go hand in hand. We need both. But again, just because you have done the training, does not mean you're competent in that task. So competency combines skills, behaviors, knowledge, and abilities which enables an employee to effectively perform their job. This is where we want to be, okay? We want to be where our people understand their skills, they have and develop the behaviors that we're looking for in our organization, right? We want people to want to do the right thing. We want people to want to go and do a good job and do things the right way, right? We want our people knowledgeable, okay? If you are not knowledgeable on the skills that you're doing day in and day out, then we're continuously trying to catch up, right? If our folks are skilled and they're knowledgeable, they can then take the opportunity to build on efficiency and become more better in the tasks that they're doing, right? And so we need our people to be at that competency stage so that we are confident that when we send our people out to do work every day, they're going to perform their job to the best of their ability. They're going to eliminate the potential for incidents and accidents because they're competent in their job. They understand what they need to do. They understand what good looks like and what not so good looks like. And so that's where we need to be. This structured practice piece, I think a lot of times in our training effort is missing, right? We go sit in a classroom, we go out, get turned loose in the field, and we haven't connected those dots to make sure that our people really understand what is expected of them. And so this is a very key piece to the puzzle. I'm not saying nobody's doing it, right? I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that do this. I gave this presentation at our conference this year, and it was about 50-50 in the room of people that said, yeah, we do kind of this structured practice piece. But that leaves 50% of our industry that is not doing this, right? And they're setting their people up for, unfortunately, ultimate failure, right? Because they're not telling their people and showing their people the right way to do things right from the get-go. So that's what I got. Thank you for attending today. Again, thanks to ECOS and Brent for everything you guys are doing. Hopefully this gave you a little piece of knowledge to put into your training program to get your people to understand the right way to do things the very first time so that we can set our people up for success in the future and be competent in what they're doing day in and day out. I can take questions. You can see there my contact information on the bottom. You can email me if you have questions. It's mark@ispconline.com. My cell phone number is also there, 717-614-5007. If you have comments, feedback, questions, I'd love to hear them. You can reach out to me and I'll get back to you, as soon as I can. So again, thank you. Appreciate everything you're doing, Brent, for our industry, and look forward to continuing to build this effort.